MP Morantz for the first 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Firstly, I want to thank all the witnesses for being here. Mr. Stefanik, I particularly want to thank you for being here. It's always nice to have a fellow Winnipegger at committee. And I remember very well when you phoned me, you and I had never spoken before or even met. You phoned me, I think, just a couple of days after the budget was tabled. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and your concern was over the increase in the capital gains inclusion rate. And when you bought your business, you were basically, looking for a way to work hard and save for your retirement to make sure that you had a secure retirement and life for your family. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And you don't have a public sector pension like members of parliament get or high-paid civil servants get. Is that right?
No.
Yeah, and your only source of retirement income is the money you've accumulated in your company. That's right?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. And the company owns a building, I think. Is that right as well?
Yeah, that was part of the purchase, yeah.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I think is inherently unfair, and I think we heard one of the other witnesses talk about this, it's ironic that the budget was called Fairness for Every Generation, but it's not so fair for your generation. You decided to incorporate when you bought your business, and the policy that the government's putting forward actually excludes corporations from the $250,000 exemption at 50%. Do you think that's fair?
Absolutely not. I mean, I should have stayed a sole proprietor. The whole thing is your plan for the future based on what is current. I have a problem with people talking about this tax being something that the one lady about billionaires. I mean, I'm not a billionaire. Like, I am boots on the ground, hardworking Canadian. I feel that when politicians talk, they're talking about myself. But when someone's trying to use a narrative to state their case with regards to studies and surveys and reports, I can tell you, there's a lot of people in my situation that are your next door neighbor. And it's frustrating to all heck because it makes when you start talking surveys, reports, that tells me that you haven't lived my life. And I'm sitting here listening to it, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
I hear you, and I'm hoping my colleagues on the Liberal side and NDP and Bloc side of this committee are hearing you as well. Now, one of the things that's interesting is that the finance minister said, well, they made it sound like it wasn't that big a deal. Only 0.13% of Canadians are going to be hurt by the increase in this inclusion rate for the capital gains. Do you consider yourself to be among the wealthiest 0.13% of Canadians?
No, definitely not.
No, and this is
I'm
going to.
sitting here working.
Yeah, yeah, and when it comes time for you to sell your business, your building, the investments that you've saved up for your retirement, you'll wind up paying tax at the 2/3 inclusion rate. And your plan was based on the 50% inclusion rate. So do you kind of feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you?
Well, I feel like, everybody in my age category that did an alternate pathway, didn't work hard and buy a business and gainful employed people to get ahead. It's going to retire before me, and I'm going to have to work longer. You talk about fairness. It's just not fair. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I think it's that people have lost touch there. I don't think they really understand how many people are in like me there.
And do you feel unfairly targeted by this change?
Well, I mean, it just, I mean, targeted. I'm not sure I'm targeted. However, I do believe it's unfair. And I just think if they actually knew, if they wanted to call and talk to me about it, I can explain to them my thoughts and my journey.
Yeah. Well,
And it just it doesn't make sense.
And you're doing a very good job of that right now, by the way, and it really matters. Now, just out of curiosity, one of the things about business people is that they're risk takers. And, you may want to grow your business or had plans to grow your business. Do you think that increasing the price you're going to have to pay on your gains to the federal government is going to make you more or less inclined to make further investments in your business?
No, it stifles. It doesn't make sense for me. Why should I put more effort in and take more risk, only to pay more taxes? It makes no sense. Like, I don't have, like I say, I don't have an economic background. I don't read reports on a regular basis. I just understand, being the person here working hard. I started out right sweeping the floors and all the way up. And it just seems like now, what did I do that for? I have no words really. And thanks very much for listening, everybody. And I am open to talk to anybody offline if they want to, that is actually making this change, just to realize that the effect that you're having on people and families.
Thank you, Mr. Stefanik.